Hi there, welcome to SquarePet Nutrition. My name is Travis Atkins. I'm a veterinarian as well as one of the co-founders of SquarePet. And what I'd like to do is to introduce you to our HMLC products, and that stands for high meat, low carbohydrate. What exactly is HMLC? Well, quite simply put, what we do is we take larger amounts of high quality meat-based proteins and substitute those in place of larger amounts of less expensive carbohydrate-based ingredients. And what we end up with is that high meat, low carbohydrate feeding philosophy. One of the most unique characteristics of HMLC is the fact that 96% of the protein is derived from quality animal sources, with less than 14% carbohydrates in the canine formula. Looking at the feline formula, 98% of the protein is derived from quality animal sources while supplying less than 11% carbohydrates. So again, achieving that high meat, low carbohydrate feeding philosophy. Now, we're all familiar with the concept of raw feeding, and raw feeding is absolutely high meat, low carbohydrate by nature. In fact, we can utilize raw as an inspiration or a potential target to try and emulate when creating HMLC. But what we need to do first is to identify the macronutrient profile of raw. And so the macronutrient profile are just the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates. And that's what this is a visual representation of. But in order to get a true apples to apples comparison, we need to remove the moisture, remove the water out of that raw diet, and get the raw diet on a dry matter basis. This allows us to have a more accurate target to try and achieve when creating HMLC. So there's still one more step that we need to take. We still have to find what we're going to do with all that water when creating HMLC. And we have two options. One is that we can replace that water with larger amounts of quality meat-based proteins, or we can replace it with larger amounts of less expensive carbohydrate ingredients, which is what you'll see in some of the other diets available today. The thing that I'll draw your attention to are the two pillars in the middle. The two pillars that are comparing HMLC and raw on a dry matter basis. And what we notice is that the macronutrient profiles are very similar. So those proteins, those fats, those carbohydrates are very similar. And this is what lends us to be able to make the claim that HMLC is a convenient alternative when it comes to raw feeding. And this is not as a direct replacement for raw, but more for that customer that really is enthusiastic about feeding raw, but prefers the convenient option of a kibble. So when it comes to some of the grain-free competitor diets that are available today, these diets are carrying with it that high meat, low carbohydrate feeding philosophy. But the thing that we notice is that the majority of these have carbohydrate concentrations that are higher than what we might anticipate, therefore separating HMLC from the crowd at less than 14% carbohydrates. Some may also say that, hey, your HMLC diet is much more expensive than that grain-free or that ancient grains diet. And I'll say, well, on the shelf, that might be the truth. But there's another very important point to HMLC that I need to relay, and that is HMLC is exceptionally energy dense at over 500 kcals per cup. So this means that we're feeding less per serving, which translates to a less of a cost per day. So the overall cost comparison is fairly negligible when it comes to comparing HMLC to the grain-free or an ancient grains diet. This is the ingredient panel for HMLC. The first 7 ingredients supply are quality animal-based ingredients. The first 6 ingredients supply 96% of the protein found in the formula with less than 14% carbohydrates. The feline formula, 98% of the protein is derived from the first 6 ingredients while supplying less than 11% carbohydrates. I've mentioned HMLC a lot. Is there actually a benefit to feeding HMLC? And the answer is absolutely yes. And it surrounds something that's very, very simple: palatability. Dogs and cats prefer to derive the majority of their calories from proteins and fats. They do not have a metabolic requirement for carbohydrates. The second thing surrounds body condition. Providing an HMLC or high meat, low carbohydrate feeding philosophy promotes that strong and lean body condition. There are solution-based options when it comes to HMLC. And the first one surrounds the concept of weight loss and utilizing HMLC for a weight loss program. There are some peer-reviewed studies to show the benefits of feeding high meat, low carbohydrate diets and the benefits that it provides to weight loss. And a lot of it surrounds the concept of satiety, or the sense of being full. Dogs and cats deriving the majority of their calories from proteins and fats stay full longer, therefore leading to a more successful weight loss program. The second solution-based option is surrounding the management of diabetes. This should absolutely be managed under the care of a veterinarian, but there are some peer-reviewed studies to show the benefits of feeding a low-carbohydrate, high-protein diet for the management of diabetes. So overall, who is the customer for HMLC? Well, quite frankly, it's any dog, from a couch potato all the way up to the service dog or that high-activity dog. I hopefully have explained that HMLC can be utilized as that convenient alternative to raw, based off of that high meat, low carbohydrate feeding philosophy. We have our solution-based options. And then when it comes to the feline formula, palatability. This feline formula is exceptionally palatable, and we've received some unsolicited responses from consumers where their previously picky cats are now devouring HMLC, so it is an exceptionally palatable formula. The last note I'll leave you with the feline formula is that it is a good diet for ferrets, so if you happen to have any ferret customers, it'd be a great option. That's it for HMLC. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out via email or give me a call at either one of those two numbers. But thank you very much for your time.